Shalom family, this is Sade, and I'm going to show you a documentary on a town called the Natchez people. They are black Natchez Indian people, where they're not actually Indian people. They were Hebrew, taken from West Africa, brought over here to the Americas, in particular at the South, and the there was plantations around this area of Mississippi, Louisiana, New Orleans, and you had three Indian tribes or Indian lands there in this location. And it was the Chickasaw Indian land to the north. It was the Choctaw Indian land, and it was also the Natchez Indian land, which is south of Carolina. So these are the same people. The Natchez people was taken from West Africa, brought over here from West Africa from a port called Judah, brought them from Gambia, from Dahomey, Benin, Angola, and also Senegal. Now, out of the book I'm reading called Creole in New Orleans, I did a video comparing the French colony map along with this particular map that comes from a book called The Lost Tribe of Myth. And it's about this gentleman that traveled throughout Africa, located African, they say African Hebrews or African Jewish, but they're actually Hebrews, but in the book they call them the Jewish colonies, but it's actually Hebrew colonies. So this map here, it shows here three different Indian towns that's located on the Mississippi River along Baton Rouge. Again, New Orleans. It's called Early French Louisiana. So these were plantations or colonies that were taken from West Africa again. The Europeans, French particular, because in the book it talks mainly French, of France, French, and that's how you get the Creole. You know, the speaking Creole, or the Creole speaking people. So anyways, I wanted to read this little clip. Now, in 1729, it says there was an uprising from the people called the Natchez people, which were their black people. They call them Natchez Indians, but they're actually Hebrew Israelite again. So I'm going to look at a paragraph explaining where they came from. And it's just amazing how they go over there knowing they're getting Hebrew Israelites from West Africa. And you bring them over here, and they have to give them new names. They can't keep their same name, so they give them a new name, they give them a new identity, a new culture. And what they do, we forget everything that were given to us. Was given to us by the Most High, and then we lost everything. So, anyways, I'm going to read this book again. A couple of verses. It's in verses. Maybe one chapter. Not chapter, but paragraph, I'm sorry. It says, there was only a handful of black slaves. Well, let me start over. It says, French island to Louisiana was in practice prohibited. Well, let me start over. Let me just start from, I don't want to read too much of this, because I did on my last video. If you go look at my video about a day ago, then you can get the understanding. But I don't want to go over the same information. I'm just going part of it so I can identify the Natchez people that they were actually taken from West Africa. So anyway, it says there was only a handful of black slaves in Louisiana before the first slave trading ship arrived from Africa in 1719, the year after New Orleans was founded. Okay. So a year after New Orleans was founded, and that's where they put them, in this area. It says between 1719 and 1731, 22 of the 23 slave trading ships that came from Africa while France ruled Louisiana. And again, France ruled Louisiana. There was the early French Louisiana plantation with 3 different Indian land masks around Louisiana, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, right? It says they arrived in Louisiana between June 1719 and January 1731. 16 more slave trading ships arrived in Louisiana from the Senegal region. So the Senegal region, it says 6 ships came from Judah. Now 6 ships came from Judah Post, because that's where it was, Judah Post and Senegal. Gambia. Where's Gambia down here? I didn't see Gambia, but Senegal. Then it goes on to say 6 ships from Judah, so it came from a port in Judah, is Waiuda, a slave trading post on the Gulf of Benin near Dahomey. On the coast of Benin, on the Gulf of Benin near Dahomey. The Gulf of Benin, here's Benin here, the Gulf, Slave Coast, Gold Coast, and the Ivory Coast. Here is Dahomey, here is Benin. You can also see Nigeria here, Cameroon, and you see what says Benin Ephraim tribes, the Levite tribes. So this is where they went in this area to get our people and brought them back over here to the south. It says in one Kabindi or Angola during the same period. The slave trade from Senegal intensified after 1725 between February 1726 and January 1731. Then it says 12 more slave ships, 1731, from Senegal landed in Mississippi. In Mississippi, the Chickasaw people in Mississippi. Now this is a map, the same map in this book called Creole New Orleans. It's a map, Early French Louisiana, and it has the Natchez Indian land, which is the Natchez people. You're going to see our people in this video. It's just like, it's like we're all over the place. They have placed us, the facts and truth, in different books. I have another book called Black Indian. Same information, talks about the Natchez people, the Chickasaw people, the Choctaw people. You know, these are 3 Indian lands in that area, in the South, Mississippi, New Orleans, and so forth. They're bringing our people from West Africa, taking them over here to these colonies or plantations, and that plantation was owned by Early French, was owned by France. It was called Early French Louisiana, and France is the one in this particular book specifically was taking our people and bringing them over here. I know there's other countries too, but this particular book talks about France for whatever reason. And look what's going on with our people in Niger. I mean, come on, y'all. That man he's reaching all over across the world and still controlling our people, our people. So it gets me so frustrated, but I just thank God that I'm running across this stuff, because now everything is making so much sense that's going on in Africa right now. Our people are still there, and we're over here going through the same mess. So anyways, and it talks about the Igbo, and the Igbo talks about they came particularly from Angola, Gambia, Senegambia, Senegambia, Angola, right? And they also took them to South Carolina, which is still part of the same area. They took them to Mississippi too. Some took them to Charleston, put them in Charleston, right? That's all south, y'all. Was most of the South. So anyway, I just trying to connect, showing you how these people connect over here. Specifically the Natchez people. Because in New Orleans book, it only mentioned the Natchez people. But in my book called The Black Indian, it mentioned the Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Chickasaw people, which are Indian lands in the same area right above Mississippi. Natchez and the other Indian land was below. And again, now I truly understand. It makes so much sense why they're finding Hebrew writings in those areas, because our Hebrew people were brought from West Africa, from these areas where there were Jewish colonies. See, we said Jewish colonies. There was Jewish colonies all over Africa. So when the slave trade and the Europeans went over to Africa, they knew exactly where they were going to go. So that means that our people was here in these areas with Jewish colonies way before the transatlantic slave trade. Because it talks about the dates. It give different dates, like it give dates like 620 AD, Jewish influence, and that's right around Timbuktu. I also gives enough more dates here. I think up this way somewhere. I hope I'm not doing this too. I'm trying not to take too much long on this map. But for some reason, I'm seeing a lot comparison in these books, these slavery books that I'm reading that I have on slavery. Tradition of Jewish garrison, 640 BC. Right here it has Jewish Yahism in 700 BC. Abydos Jews. It has, so the dates, they have dates in here, 606, I think, 600 BC. Here is an Israel immigrant. Here is 1100 to 700 BC. So there are dates here telling us that our people was here long before this, the Atlantic slave trade, transatlantic slave trade started. We were here, and they knew this. They knew we were there. That's why they went there. They knew we were there. They knew that we was there. Let me stop trying to talk so fast. When I get upset, I get like talking so fast, and I need to slow down because I want to make sense here. I don't want to be all over the place. So anyway, so I was just trying to show you that the Natchez people are the same people. The Israelites taken from West Africa, from these Jewish colonies, brought back over to the United States, put in a actual colony that was already set up called Early French Louisiana, and it was at Plantations. There are plantations there. So what they did was they established the plantations, they established the area where they wanted them to be, already knew the names they were going to give them, went over there to Africa, took our people, and then brought them back over here, and it took them by the thousands. And if you go look at my video on the 19th, I gave a lot of reading out of the books. So now what you do is I want to show you who the Natchez people is, and here's the video. Let me go ahead and do this here, and do this here.
Day and the mist have rolled away, but we'll understand it better by and by.
I will tell you fellas, let me say this. I will tell you fellas, I have never belonged to anything as serious as this. And I want to tell you, when I made this step, I call it taking a giant step. The things that we do in the street, that's in the street. But what we do here is something like a person's treasure locked up in a vault. It's here to stay.
Now, if we do something, I mean, don't look for glory, man, like going out and say, man, I did this last thing, you know, just for a big name. We're not doing this for no glory, you know. We're doing this for me, you, and the children, and race.
Now, first thing I want to say,
Each person here bow down on both knees. His left hand faced in the Bible. And his right hand up to God. On the oath. Now, who want to be first man? Good, Mr. Jackson. Your arm, just like that. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly
that I will not.
that I will not
Reveal. Or invade. Any of these above secrets within.
John Fisher there was interested in organizing an organization for the protection of Negro people.
I will.
See,
And
Negro
he
too.
invited me to his first meeting.
It just-
And we met. We took oaths, swore that we would give our lives to the organization, and nothing ever happened. He promised there would be more meetings the next week, the next 2 days, but never another meeting. It was just a complete, nothing was done.
I'm just in there. I don't want to see y'all.
Black Natchez.
All I want is my money, and I
These
ain't
are
working
people from
today.
Africa, y'all, from West
All I
Africa.
want is my money, and
Hebrew
I will be
Israelites.
back tomorrow
That's
or
what they
this
are.
evening.
Now, if you want me and you and OC and Nussy going on a chat thing,
I went over there yesterday and worked like a dog when y'all was sitting down. I'm not going to work all night on my money. Hey, he's straight. Wait a minute. Listen, I'm not talking to you. You didn't hire me in. Listen, lay off me here. I ain't funny with shit. I ain't funny with stuff this morning. Don't argue with me. Don't say nothing to me because you didn't hire me. You understand me? Now, don't get me wrong. Sorry. But I ain't doing good.
Sorry.
You didn't hire me.
Pull up on. Sit down. Sit with Daddy.
Condition of our people. It's just so sad. I'm not gonna play the whole 1 hour. I just want to see the our people, who they call the Natchez people, that they brought over here from West Africa and placed them in those plantations in Mississippi.
There are men in Natchez. There are women in Natchez. And there are children in Natchez. If the children can walk the line, you can protect them. I have one favor I want to ask of them. I want every man in here to stand up. Every man. All I want to say is every man in here with idle time, if you can't walk the picket line from tomorrow on, won't you come back, sit on the side somewhere and see what's happening so that if some of those people come up to hurt some of your children, your heart will be right. And I want to see every man who stood up and said he was a man to be out by that picket line.
The average cat would say, actually, the average guy would say now, if I'm on that picket line and get shot dead, they would say in their mind, they would go around talking, say if he hadn't been on that line, he wouldn't have got killed. And that's a lie. I could have been at home, I still would have got killed.
I'm like Bilbo. Bilbo said, "Wasn't one good nigga, that's a dead nigga. There was one good white man, that's a dead man."
Well, all of them is wrong. You can't hate them, man. A lot of white guys are afraid just like we are, you know.
Oh, wow. See, we
So I,
just
when I
always
grab
think
the
people
sign and get on that picket line, I couldn't say that I'm not afraid, man. I'm not afraid, but I still have fear, you know. Stay right there and die before I turn around. That's right. I got sense enough to know, man, that you don't die until your time comes. Yeah.
We need people down. If you see people around here who could go down and picket on Main Street.
Okay, I sure will.
They just had these little kids around 12 and 13-year-old, and they've been picketing all day. And
everybody's gone.
Yeah, and they're going to get a sunstroke if they keep on. So I'm going down canvassing for more kids. Oh, the little kids?
Little kids?
Yeah, the 12 and 13-year-olds.
Why don't you go up and give them my hand, George? No, I won't go up there like I am.
I'm blown from last night, man.
Hold on, who this is? Hold on,
Somebody with the little older video boy.
Ever since the two Civil Rights Project came to Natchez, Negroes would sit around and discuss how they want to fight for their freedom and how they're ready to die for it. And soon as the man said, okay, man, come on, let's go up here and picket, then that's why everybody do all their dying right at this time, man. I sure wish I could come up there and help you out, man. Hot dog, I didn't know it was going to be a picket day. I got to go to a funeral today. Nobody never dies until it's going to be a march or a picket, you know. But it started me thinking that the Negroes were just fooling themselves that he was still ready to do nothing. Yeah, like, man, I was just about ready to give it up. Just about ready to turn around, and all of a sudden, boom.
Here is a repeat of an earlier news bulletin from WNET. George Metcalf, president of the Natchez chapter of the NAACP, was critically injured in Natchez this afternoon when dynamite hidden beneath the hood of his car exploded when he turned on the ignition. The injured Negro was rushed to Jefferson Davis Memorial Hospital, where he was given emergency treatment. Officials at the hospital declined to comment on his condition. Metcalf had been active in the voter registration drive in Natchez and had been a signer of a school integration petition.
This is the way I like to crush these doggone southern diehards. This is the snuff their lives, Joe.
You know, I want to find out about... Hey, Ace, have you been in the hospital?
Yeah.
How are his eyes?
Is that my own?
Huh?
Yeah, closed.
His eyes are closed?
Yeah, both.
I mean, they have something open.
Well, now, one of them was, you see, the right side was a big knot over this one, but the other one was swollen real bad and close too.
Well, will he be able to see? I heard that there's a possibility he may not be able to see him.
Well, it's according to what got in, you know that.
America thinks the Negroes and Natchez are afraid, as they've said many times. We ain't here to let them know that we aren't afraid. And this is CBS News, and they want to let the world know that we're not afraid anymore. It doesn't mean that we're going to try to turn Mississippi into a bloodbath.
See your right side here. I go to talk to this man with the right side.
What's going to happen here?
Well, I'll tell you right now, from the way practically all the Negroes feel, it feels like the thing is about to happen when it happened in California. Now, whatever that you call that happened in California, or war, or race riot, or whatever it is, that's what's about to happen here.
Who will start such a riot?
Anybody here started right now, ready. Is that the question in the thing? Stop me, we want to see it now. Let everything start right now.
Look, how is George looking? I don't want to see him. I don't want to, because I might go back out and start shooting up the nurses. Yeah.
Nobody gonna disarm us either, that's another.
I shoot up the nurses, let me tell you something.
Not a soul gonna stand in this arm, nobody.
But you see now, what is happening is that the people are arming themselves, true, but tonight, people just want to serve notice on the city, that's all.
That's right.
That's all they want to do is serve notice. And a protest is just that we just gonna let these people know we tired. And like Miss Evans say, before we be a slave, we'll be buried in our grave. Go home to our Lord and be free. That's all. Look, I had this fella to go pick up me a dress. You know my white dress? You know that big white green one? I had him go pick it up because I can't hardly make it in this little tight thing. We got to call the mayor. Hello? Yes. Oh, well, this meeting is tonight at 6 o'clock over here at the office. And, of course, it's a somewhat of a protest meeting. Well, Mr. Evans will be one person here, and of course I think the city of Natchez will be here. I'm just about sure the Negro community will be here, because, you know, this is a bad time.
The second white man don't understand violence. Unless we meet that violence with violence, we're not going to move anymore. It's just going to be, the civil rights movement going to take 100 years. The quickest way to freedom is to meet violence with violence. Violence with violence. Black mother.
We all are saddened tonight, as we were saddened today, about this brutal attack upon our own. And I know all of us are angry, and nobody's more angry than I am. We all are tired of being mistreated, and we know who's responsible for this. We know who's responsible for this. And we must use the weapon that we are soon going to have to get rid of them. Now that weapon, very quiet please, the weapon, the most effective weapon,
I'm going to go
will
ahead
be,
and
you
pause
know,
that here because I don't want that to get too violent. But I just wanted to show you just a quick view of who the Natchez people are. And it seems like there were the Natchez Indians and the Choctaw Indian was fighting amongst each other. So they were fighting, these were black Indian tribes fighting against each other. But we know that there were not, they were originally, again, taken from Africa, brought into this area, and given them names, given those names, specifically the Natchez people. So there were also the other two, not that one. There was the Chickasaw, Natchez, Mississippi, and the Choctaw. These were black Indian land, and they was fighting amongst each other, just like they do today against us. That's just like going on in Niger. Like I said, it's going on in Niger. The exact same thing is going on in Niger. Now I may try to play a little more of this. I don't know if YouTube is going to allow me to post this, but if not, I probably have to edit and take some of it out. But I'm going to try to play a little more. I might forward because it wouldn't look like it's getting to the violent part. I don't want to show that because they may not allow it on here. So let me go ahead and see what they're going to do from here. But again, this is so. Yes, okay, let me go ahead and play
The vote, we know that.
No! What? They don't do no
Leave them alone. Their intelligence showing. Leave him alone now. Come on. Let's
So these are so these are Natchez Indian. They call them Natchez Indians, but they are also taken, as I read from the book, from the Creole book, Creole New Orleans, that they were taken from West Africa, brought over here and given that name. Now there was another group called the okay, that's not what I want to show you. Was called the Chickasaw, and also the Choctaw. Now they were battle amongst each other. These are three Indian lands and Indian tribes, what they call Indian tribes, black tribes that was fighting amongst each other. Now, I haven't really did any study on the Choctaw and the Chickasaw. I haven't really found anything on them. I just ran across this particular documentary on the Natchez people, and they are clearly black, but they call them Black Indians. But again, they were taken from West Africa, and I have the book right here telling exactly the years and how many was brought over. And then after they were brought over here, there was an uprising, and this is probably the time I ever heard this uprising. It was an uprising, well, not really here, but it was an uprising. The first uprising was in 1729 by the Natchez people. And it was between the blacks and whites during that time. And 1729, this is 1729 when they said the first uprising started. And this is in 1960, and they're still fighting for their rights. Just like till this day, we're still fighting for our rights.
Keep them straight, man. Keep them straight through now. Keep them straight on their head. That's what I say.
You a boy.
Yeah, I'm a boy when you want to go out there and get them.
Let's hear what he's saying.
Stay together. We've got to stick together. We've got to listen and be obedient and do what you're told. This is most important now. We cannot go off on no wild goose chase. We can't be as ignorant as they have been. Now, I was just told that Father Marcy here had something to read.
The mayor and the board of aldermen have agreed at 1 o'clock tomorrow to have a meeting and to meet with representatives of the various elements of our community. The purpose of this meeting is...
Elements means different tribes, and with a tribal war going on between those three Indian tribes.
Not merely to talk things over. For the first time, according to their promise, the purpose of this meeting will be to actually form a permanent community biracial committee, and the purpose of that committee will be to hear grievances, to sit down and discuss grievances, to look into what is wrong with our community and the justifiable complaints of our Negro citizens.
I guess the next day they selected committee. I really
see they call them Negro, but they're the Chickasaw. The Natchez people, but they call them Negroes. They call them blacks. So that can be really confusing, and that's what the white folks are good at sometimes, just confusing people on purpose. Let me stop.
I don't know too much about it.
Let me stop.
I had heard that the Freedom Democrat Party kids and Evers had some kind of fight. And from the looks of the committee, Evers must have won.
Field representative, can't you see that? The poor people. Look at that, NAA people. Nobody represents Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party.
Who said nobody representing you?
Well, does somebody have to? How this militant movement got started? I don't want to turn this table over now. No, yes I will too. Yes I will.
That's why frankly is the reason why they will not talk to younger people. Because we don't like things, but we're going to hold on to them.
Man, I think the ladies should be on because they've been out in town picketing when the men are sitting down and haven't been doing anything. Yeah, where's the men? Suppose you put men on this thing. All right. Let's put men on it. No. Could I say something? When we go down there, I can go out and tell that man I'll pay $216 taxes.
And these people down here, we are paying them to do a job. And we're going to let them know we're paying them to do a job and we want it done.
These are local Natchez citizens, tax-paying, voting citizens. Then that gives the thing a little weight.
Another thing I might add, in my own mind anyway, it just doesn't make sense in the space of 24 hours to try to recruit from the small group that we might have present today, a permanent committee.
Maybe I don't understand. I think this committee here, that we get, and we hope will be a permanent committee to represent people until someone want to resign, somebody, they can always add to a committee. Yeah, I think you have a cross-section of everybody here. Now, you don't have everybody here, but you have a cross-section of all. You have laymen, you have businessmen, you have ministers.
But I think we should make provision for adding to our committee, and we find out before we go down how many...
Because too many people talking at one time just won't make much headway.
What's going on now doesn't make sense. No. That's right. It really does not. Because these men, all they are doing, they're going to be representing the different proposals that we're going to make up now. That's all they're going there for, regardless of who they are. We're going to make our proposal here now.
All right, what we're going to do, I think we should tell what we want them to go down and say.
That's right.
So now let's start giving, let's not ask for too much. Let's ask for about 8 or 10 things we know we can get. The thing that's most pressing. Now you got to be reasonable, and ain't no point in being unreasonable. Now let's ask for things that we want and want some action on immediately.
First thing, if it's possible, to put on now that the mayor and the board of aldermen denounce all radical organization, whether it's Ku Klux Klan or any other radical organization.
Negro police. Yeah. Let's get 12.
Police protection at our school.
Police protection. We got that on.
Okay, so I'm going to end it here. It looked like they're trying to establish some protection for their community. But we know white supremacists never allowed that. You know, they were always tearing down whatever we build. And these are people, the Natchez people, just trying to build a community and protection. So anyways, if you want to go look at that documentary, you should go ahead and Google that. I think if you look at the beginning of the video, you'll see exactly the name of it. So I'm going to end it here, but I just wanted to show you that the Natchez people, if that's the way you pronounce it, they were taken from West Africa between 1719 all the way through... Actually all the way through 1743, and also they took the Igbo or Abibo also. So, and that's in this book. There is a whole chapter on the Natchez people, which are the people here, and also the let me go show that other the Choctaw people, the Natchez. These are, and remember, these are Indian lands, and the Chickasaw, and they were located in Mississippi, in New Orleans. Where else? New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So they were fighting amongst each other, according to this book here. It's the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Natchez, and also the Chickasaw, and these are Indian land. These are Choctaw Indian lands, the Chickasaw Indian lands, and the Natchez Indian lands. And there were a war between these individuals, these lands, these tribes. And I guess I can look into, I'm going to read some more of this and try to find some information on the other two Indian names, the Indian land, the people that, the Chickasaw and the Choctaw people. Obviously, they were all black people in this area, Mississippi. Right below it says right here, Natchez Grand Village of Natchez. And they're all three were surrounding Mississippi. And the colonies, the early French Louisiana colony, the plantations, this is where our people was located there. the Plantations. Early French Louisiana is called. So anyway, you all, I'm going to end it there. I'm just trying to make that point. I hope I did. And again, go check out the documentary on this particular tribe, the Natchez people. And shalom, and have a blessed evening.